Yes, sir.
Question. What about those that didn't marry, that don't know it? How would that apply?
Again, because they don't know, it's not their fault. But if they get this DVD and come to find out some things, then although they have been married by the state, they need to make their union to each other before God, which is going to make it strong. Okay? All right. I'm going to read that again. Now in this bond, that Jesus said, of God, we find the marriage tie, and all other unions are but bonds of straw, and they who live in them commit adultery. The same as they who satisfy their lust without the sanction of an officer or priest. So you know, they no different from those that got the marriage license. Is no different from those who are having sex without the marriage license. Whom God, he says, has joined together, man cannot part. Whom man has joined together, live in sin. Upon a table of the law, the lawgiver wrote, thou shalt not steal. Moses, Moshe the lawgiver, Musa the lawgiver, Ma'at. Jesus says, before the eyes of law, a man to steal must take a thing that can be seen with eyes of flesh. That's the only thing people can steal from you, is the things that are seen with the eyes of flesh, Jesus says. Without the knowledge or consent of him to the thing belongs. Okay. So the church deems adultery this. If you are a married man or woman and sleep with another married man or woman, you have committed adultery. But if you are a married man or woman and sleep with someone who's not married, that's not adultery. That's coming from the church. Now they're condemning you for all this stuff. That's from the church. Just like the Catholic priest would go, oh, it's a sin to sleep with a little girl, but it's not a sin in God's eyes to sleep with a little boy. Peace. All right. So Jesus goes on to say, but lo, I say, that he who in his heart desires to possess that which is not his own, and would deprive the owner of the thing without his knowledge or consent, is in the sight of God a thief. So the marriage law, Jesus said here that only God can bind two hearts together. And for man to bind two hearts together is in a supreme violation against what God set up. For God said, what God put together, that no man put asunder.
So based off what Jesus is saying, is that man marrying man and woman, that's still considered a sin.
It's a sin. Because only God can bring two souls together. So we have to learn now the spiritual marriage from our ancestors. We've been on the traditions and customs of the European. Again, the prophet said, if you don't want to get married before your sheiks or grand sheiks, then go downtown and buy you a wife, because that's what you're doing. We read earlier in the Black's Law dictionaries that a marriage license is a contract of you buying and selling each other to each other. You are married by nature. Remember Thelma, I spoke earlier, Thelma on Good Times said, when I get married, my husband and I are going to be on top of this mountain, and we're going to say our vows to each other in front of God. And by Florida being so Christianized, she said, you better have a preacher there. But she was actually putting out the actual African tradition. In certain parts of our African culture, when a man and woman got married, one, she asked him. If he asked her, his head would be taken off. In Africa, if a man told a woman she loved him first, his head would be taken off. That's why it's always best for her to tell you, because if she tell you, you know what you got. But when they got married, the wife would be at the altar, not the husband. And the husband and his mother will come down the aisle. You sometimes may see in a lot of the Chinese martial art movies. They would have a ribbon connected to the son and to the mother. And they would walk down the aisle. The sperm meets the egg gonna meet the sperm. Really that simple. And when the son and mother walk up to the altar, the mother will now take off her ribbon and put it on the wife and say, now you are his mother. So sisters, when that's married, stop telling your husbands, I ain't your mama. Yes, you are. You're still taking care of him and feeding him and clothing him just like his mama did. He just give a little extracurricular activity. All right.
Okay.
That's how they got married. Any questions, comments so far? We're going to go to the biography of Noble Drew Ali. Yes, sir. That was the Zodiac Constitution. Constitution, yeah. No. No. No, that's the Clock of Destiny. This is another one that he wrote. A Zodiac Constitution, the law of nature for the Moors to live by. Yeah. So this class is called the Adept Lessons of Marriage. An adept is one, again, who's a master, who's an expert, who's skilled. So we're teaching our brothers and sisters who have not been privileged to get this kind of information. What true marriage is. So we went from the Black's Law Dictionary and we proved that a marriage license is a contract. And if you break that contract, you got to pay child support and alimony. And you have to get this granted through the courts. But coming from God, it's divinely given. There is no divorce. Even death can't break that marriage. Because even in death, which we know is really life, you will meet each other on the other side and still be connected.
And just like you said, Matthew chapter 1:18, saying that Mary and Joseph was
not married. This is for our sisters who believe that what the church have taught them, that if you're pregnant and have a child out of wedlock, it's a sin. Well, we just found out in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18, that Mary and Joseph wasn't married when she was pregnant with Jesus. The term espouse means an agreement to marry at another time. Then the priest Moshe said, well, look at the word betrothal. We look at the word betrothal, and betrothal gave a better definition, and it stated the same thing, and it's agreement between two parties to marry at another time. So they wasn't married.
And that's what they based their codes and law
off of the Bible.
Yet
yeah. No preacher can tell you or prove that Adam and Eve had a marriage license. What you mean? We know that the union of man and woman is the nature of the marriage. This is why, like I said before, couples that I've known been married for 20 years, like, man, high priest, my wife, my lady and I been together for 20 years, been wonderful. But as soon as we got that piece of paper, all hell seemed to break loose. Because now you went in direct violation of the law of nature. Do you see two birds and trees going? You see two bears? I do. And they learn from us. That's why ancestors said we'll leave the animal figures or we'll leave the animal images around, because we know that a time will come where cultures will change, the language will change, but the nature of the animal will stay the same, because the animals learn their society from us. We're the gods and goddesses. So now we got to learn from them to remember, like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. The Bible says, does not nature teach you all these things? All right. Biography of Noble Drew Ali. Brother Ellie, who plays in Bird Bay, known as Brother Swift Angel, wrote this book about the true teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The Prophet was teaching some great wisdom. He brought it back to us. On page 262. I'm going to read this. He says, Noble Drew Ali said, I have brought you something you can shout.